It's Talk of Iowa from IPR News. I'm Charity Nebbe. Later this hour, we'll meet Alicia Rau, a professional trumpet player known by ragbri writers as the Trumpet Chick. She has just been nominated for a Grammy for her work on the album Crescendo with Lucy Kalantari and the Jazz Cats. It's Talk of Iowa from IPR News. I'm Charity Nebbe. Alicia Rau rides ragbri every year with a trumpet mounted on her bike. Fellow riders know her as the Trumpet Chick. What they may not know is that Rau, who grew up in Shelby, Iowa, is a professional trumpet player who lives and works in New York City. She has been nominated for her first Grammy for her work on the album Crescendo with Lucy Kalantari and the Jazz Cats. The album is nominated for Best Children's Album, and the winners will be announced on Sunday, February 2nd. We're going to listen now to a little bit of a song that really showcases what Rau can do. It's El Sonido de los Vientos.
Oh, how I love those sounds. Horn hits, when they come back around. Escucho el sonido animado y expresivo de los vientos.
A little bit of Sonido de los Vientos. That means the sounds of the horns. And the horn player, Alicia Rau, is with me now. Hello.
Hello there.
So nice to talk with you, and congratulations on your Grammy nomination.
Thank you so much.
Well,
very excited.
I want to start kind of with the beginning. I know you grew up in Shelby, Iowa. You grew up in a very musical family. When did you fall in love with the trumpet?
Yeah, so I was surrounded by music from when I was first born into the family on the farm, and I got into the piano first around I'd say first grade, but then when I was 10, I joined the band, and that's when I chose the trumpet.
What made you pick it?
You know, I have older sisters that when I was young were in musical groups in college at the University of Iowa, and we would drive there to go see a concert, every semester or so. And there were two very tall trumpet players in the band, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I want to do that.
So you got serious about band and did all the things when you were in high school. When you went to the University of Iowa, how did you didn't major in performance? You double majored in music and anthropology. Tell me a little bit about what you were thinking at that point.
Right. So when I started, I first majored in music therapy, and that kind of led me to new discoveries with other things in the music world and college and everything you experience when you're there. And then I was like, well, I love all types of music, but I don't want to just do marching band, or I don't want to. They're just, it started to lead me to the other things. And I had a wonderful jazz professor, Professor John Rapson, who said, hey, you can get a Bachelor of Arts, and that opens you up to have more opportunities. And if then you can double major in the interests that I had, which was music and anthropology and world studies. And then that gave me the opportunity to explore those things with a little more liberty to channel, the interests that I had with music.
So, I mean, in studying anthropology, you studied abroad in Senegal. How did you incorporate music? Because I get the impression that you incorporated music into everything.
I really did. And what was really amazing, so when I went to Senegal, I decided to study abroad. I had a tiny amount of French knowledge, so I wanted to go somewhere where I could work on that. I had a big interest in West African studies, so I found a program in Senegal. And when I got there, there were 9 women in the program, and all the others were world music studies and women's studies and French studies. And I was like, I play the trumpet. How are we going to work with this? And so luckily, one of the teachers who taught drumming and dance was like, hey, I have a band. Come to the rehearsal. And I joined the band and ended up touring with local musicians. So what I got to do is I got to get field credit by just going on the road with locals and really getting to know the culture there. So it was a great way to get field credit by playing my horn.
Yeah, that must have been an incredible adventure. And what took you to New York City?
Well, I was on the 5-year plan. I was on the 5th year in college, which is more common than people might like to acknowledge. And in the 5th year, I was still kind of sitting there going, what do I want to do next? And I had a wonderful career advisor, and she said, well, you're graduating, but you can still be a student in the summer. So you could go ahead and apply for an internship and use that student status to, explore a bit more, because internships really give you a chance to see if it's really what you want to do. And I had spent a summer studying in LA, studying trumpet with someone just on the summer break, Clay Jenkins, another trumpet player. And I had, of course, spent time in West Africa, but I hadn't yet been to that other big city of the big city, the Big Apple. And so I looked for an internship there, and I applied and got accepted into this one where it was working with a street jam festival, a music festival in Jamaica, Queens. So that's what got me to New York. It was kind of a smooth way to get there and then say, okay, let me try this out, see if it works for me.
We
Of course,
need
I
a
brought my trumpet.
right. We need a lot more time if we want to talk about everything that you've done in your professional career. But I do want, obviously, you've been nominated for a Grammy for your work with Lucy Kalantari and the Jazz Cats. How did you make that connection? How did you become part of the band?
Oh, yeah. So during COVID, I actually remember specifically being on the phone with her sitting in Central Park because their clarinet player, which you heard on El Sonido de los Vientos, he was on tour at the moment, and they needed someone to fill in, and he had my number, and so suggested me, and she asked me to join, and I did. And one of the wonderful things about that is I was thinking, hey, I wonder if Lucy would be interested in later when the clarinet player comes back, having us both, because clarinet, he also plays sax, and clarinet and sax plus trumpet works really well together. And lo and behold, lucky to me, she decided that it worked, and now it's both of us, so we're both in the band.
And obviously, this has really worked for you. It's created some really terrific music. What appealed to you about being a part of this band and playing for children?
It's just so amazing. Even at the beginning of this, when you were playing a segment of the song, I was smiling ear to ear, because what's wonderful is, first of all, I love Lucy's writing is phenomenal, and I get to play with professional musicians that are just stellar, and that alone is just a great opportunity. But then to do it in a setting where you feel like you're just adding a positivity to the world. You're playing in front of families. We're interacting and working with kids across the board. And I love playing for all ages and all settings. I have plenty of gigs in clubs and bars and weddings, and those are fantastic. But to balance it a bit with playing in a setting, like we get to do these morning gigs in museums and children's libraries and things. And it just makes for a really great day when that's what I pick up my horn to do.
I want to play a little bit of another song. This is Balloon. This is the Spanish version of Lucy's tune, Balloon. And we get to hear a lot of you on this track, not just playing the trumpet, playing the slide trumpet, right?
That's right. That's right.
And you're doing backup vocals too, right?
Yes, we do some. Just as band members, we get to sing along sometimes too.
Nice. Let's listen.
Balloon, ba la 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 loon, ba la 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 loon. La simplicidad hace el mundo girar y encontrarás que cada día es especial. Solo hay que notar los sonidos alrededor o el rebote de un balón con su lindo resplandor. Balloon, balloon.
All right, that's just a little taste of Balloon. You have to go and listen to it for yourself. What does it mean to you, Alicia, to be nominated for a Grammy?
Oh, I do get goosebumps quite a lot when I think about it. And I think people have asked, like, "How were you just so excited at the beginning when you found out?" And I was I don't even think it sank in right away. So I was just kind of like, "Oh, oh," and then you sit in it for a moment, and then you're like, "Oh," oh. And it became quite amazing to really realize, yeah, what it means and everything that is involved in that. And then it was like, wait, as a band we spoke and it's like, wait, are you guys going? Oh, wait, we're going? Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh, I'm going to attend the Grammys. This is amazing. So it means a lot. It really does.
Well, and
Just
I mean
be
that
excited.
is it's an open question, right? When you're nominated, and the Children's Album Awards will be announced earlier in the day. Is that at a luncheon or something?
I believe so. In the afternoon they'll announce those and then we get to attend in the evening for the
The
main show that
the big
everybody
show, right? The
gets to
one that
watch.
we get
The
to
big
watch
show.
at home as well.
Yeah,
That's so. Do you
yes.
already know what you're wearing?
I happen to have the dress, yes, and let me see, what's it called? A clutch that was my grandmother's that matches. So I
Oh,
get to
cool.
bring my grandmother's clutch with me.
That is incredibly cool. And I teased at the beginning, Alicia, a lot of people in Iowa know who you are, not because you are a professional musician and have done many, many things, but because you have a trumpet mounted on your bicycle when you ride Ragbri. How did that start?
I did. That is true. I do. So my first year of writing full Ragbri was 2010, and as many brass players may say, the muscle, we play with a muscle and we have to keep that in shape. So at the time I was like, oh no, how do I take a week off? I can't. And so I, at the time, borrowed someone's pocket trumpet because I didn't have one at the time, just so I could practice. And in the process, I started thinking, wait, there's some, as we call it on Ragbri, some killer hills here and there. Oh, I could jump off and play. I think that would be fun. And then I started doing it more and more. And then I was like, oh, people need to get up and moving in the morning. What about reveille? And then at night, the sun sets. I'm like, well, that's the time for taps. And then it became this whole thing of now the trumpet is involved, part of my journey on Ragbri. And then as I was doing it, I started thinking, well, nobody knows that the person that's riding, because at the time the trumpet was in a little saddlebag, no one realizes that that's the same person that just blasted them at 6 a.m. in their tent.
And you
Uh,
wanted them to
or,
know,
or
right?
yeah, I was gonna say maybe that part we don't want to share, but but just connecting with others, like if you hear the stories, I heard of that there was a trumpet player that played up the hill on the hill, or if I sometimes would hide in a cornfield next to the porta potties, or as we call in Ragbri, the kaibos, and to hear people tell stories about, I heard that trumpet player's playing next to the bathrooms, and I was like, I want them to know it's me. And so I had my father build a custom mount that attaches to the saddle of the bike, and so it sits and holds the trumpet exposed behind, so that you can see it when I'm riding. And then it just becomes a whole thing.
And what is the connection with the hills? You play at the top of the hills, or what do you
So
do?
I do. I like to charge up the hills, and we're dealing with often 100-degree weather, Iowa humidity, and lots of crowds, endless sea of riders going up the hill. And so I will get out of the saddle and charge up to the top, and then hop off, straddle the bike to hold it because I have to hold the bike up while I'm playing the trumpet, and then grab the horn and play these different songs that just encourage others. Theme from Rocky, or Jingle Bells for fun. I don't know.
You get
But
a lot of requests too, right?
I do get requests. At what's amazing is you just see, and I have friends that would stop and pull off with me, and they're like, we watch and we just see the way the whole swarming sea of riders speed up, and everyone just, like, it lifts them up and it gets them over the hill. And so it's just really fun to be a part of that, share that.
You, in your professional career, have gone in a lot of different directions. What are your hopes for the future?
Well, that's a big question. Well, one of the beautiful things about I think where I am now is I just really love what I do. And so I want to keep doing what I do. And as I think artists often go through, we just want to continue to get better. And, the best, in my opinion, the best musician is the one who notices that he or she has room for improvement. Because once you feel like you've got it all done, then what's the point? So, what I see myself doing is just continuing to nitpick and zone in and get this craft even more suited to what I call it to be, which is professional. I'd like it to feel that way as much as I can. I'm always looking to do more diverse gigs because that just keeps it interesting. Like I mentioned before, when you're playing in front of different types of crowds, it just keeps it exciting. If I did the same thing every day, I might get a little bored. So I'm also curious as to where I'll go with this. This just it kind of gives you suddenly a prop, not prop, a prop gives you props. Like, oh wait, I did this. Okay, I'm legit. Maybe I'm not a phony. Because we all have phony syndrome here and there,
Right.
imposter
You,
syndrome.
you
So,
seem pretty legit to me. Oh,
oh well,
Alicia,
thanks.
thank you so much for talking with me and congratulations on your Grammy nomination. I hope things go your way on February 2nd, but even if they don't, what an enormous honor.
Thank you so much.
Alicia Rau is a professional trumpet player. She has been nominated for her first Grammy for her work on the album Crescendo with Lucy Kalantari and the Jazz Cats. The Grammys are on February 2nd, and the nomination was for Best Children's Album. We're going out here with one of her original compositions. This is Holly Yofi Gage, and it was inspired by local folklore in Senegal, West Africa. This is Talk of Iowa from IPR News. I'm Charity Nebbe.